Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Oops, let me just shut this down.
नीचे का निकला
Hare He Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jashanam Iva Toyam Ipsitam Hitva Mahams Tang Yadi Sajate Grihe Tada Mahatwam Vayasa Dampatinam Harir Hi Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jashanam Iva Toyam Ipsitam Itvam Stang Yadi Sajjate Grahe Chada Mahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam Aviri Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jashanam Iva Toyam Ipsitam Itvam Yadi Sajate Grahe Chadamahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam Aviri Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jashanam Iva Toyam Ipsitam Utvam Stam Yadi Sajate Grahe Chadamahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam. Does anyone want to try?
Hare Sakshat Bhagavan Sharira.
Hare Sakshat
Jashanam Ivatoyam Ikshitam.
Jashanam Ivatoyam Ikshitam.
Hitva Mahastam Yadi Sajjate Grihe.
Hitva Mahastam Yadi Sajjate Grihe.
Tadha Mahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam.
Tadha Mahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam.
Hare Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirinam.
Hare Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirinam.
Atma Jashanam Ivatoyam Ipsitam.
Atma Jashanam Ivatoyam Ipsitam.
Hitva Mahastam Yadi Sajjate Grihe.
Hitva Mahastam Yadi Sajjate Grihe.
Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam.
Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam.
Hare Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirnam.
Hare Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirnam.
Atma Jashanam Ivatoyam Ipsitam.
Atma Jashanam Ivatoyam Ikshitam.
Hitva Mahastam Tam Yadi Sajjate Grihe.
Hitva Mahastam Yadi Sajjate Grihe.
Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam.
Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Bhattinam.
Hare Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirnam.
Hare Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirnam.
Atma Jashanam Ivatoyam Ipsitam.
Atma Jashanam Ivatoyam Ipsitam.
Hitva Mahastam Yadi Sajjate Grihe.
Hitva Mahastam Yadi Sajjate Grihe.
Tata Mahatvam Vayasadam Patinam.
Okay, that's it. All right. Hare, no, Hari, the Lord. He, certainly. Sakshat, directly. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shariranam, of all living entities. Who have accepted material bodies. Atma, the life and soul. Jashanam, of the aquatics. Eva, like. Toyam, the vast water. Ipsitam, is desired. Hitva, giving up. Mahan, a great personality. Tam, him. Yadi, if. Sajate, becomes attached. Grihe, to household life. Tada, at that time. Mahatvam, greatness. Vayasa, by age. Dampatinam, of the husband and wife. So translation, just as aquatics always desire to remain in the vast mass of water, all conditioned living entities naturally desire, all conditioned living entities naturally desire to remain in the vast existence of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, if someone very great by material calculations fails to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, but instead becomes attached to material household life, his greatness is like that of a young, low-class couple. One who is too attached to material life loses all good qualities. Oh my God. So we'll go ahead to Srila Prabhupada's purport. Although crocodiles are very fierce animals, they are powerless when they venture out of the water onto land. When they are out of the water, they cannot exhibit their original power. Similarly, the all-pervading supersoul is the source of all living entities, and all living entities are part and parcel of him. When the living entity remains in contact with the all-pervading Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, he manifests his spiritual power, exactly as the crocodile exhibits its strength in the water. In other words, the greatness of the living entity can be perceived when he is in the spiritual world, engaged in spiritual activities. Many householders, although well educated in the knowledge of the Vedas, become attached to family life. They are compared herein to crocodiles out of the water, for they are devoid of all spiritual strength. Their greatness is like that of a young husband and wife who, though uneducated, praise one another and become attracted to their own temporary beauty. This kind of greatness is appreciated only by low-class men with no qualification. Everyone should therefore seek the shelter of the Supreme Soul, the source of all living entities. No one should waste his time in the so-called happiness of materialistic household life. In the Vedic civilization, this type of crippled life is allowed only until one's 50th year, when one must give up family life and enter into the order of vanaprasthas, independent retired life, for cultivation of spiritual knowledge, or sannyas, the renounced order, in which one completely takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a lot of talking back there. What?
Very noisy.
I think it's a class.
What? Well, if you can keep the door closed or something, because I can hear him. Just make sure the door is closed. Okay, so again, Harir hi sakshad bhagavan shadirhi namatma jitanam mivatoyam ipsitam hitwamaham stam yadi sajate grahe tadamahatvam vayasa dampatinam. So, Om Gana Timiranda Shagananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigarave Namaha Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, this is a very interesting verse, and there's many things that are indicated here by this verse. One thing is indicated before we get into the stuff about giving up one's household life, which is going to scare all of you. Particularly the young folks who are getting married. But anyway, one of the things that is very interesting is that this verse actually points out that we are originally Krishna conscious living entities. Sometimes there's this discussion that where do we come from? And some people say we were born in the Brahmajyoti or something like that, and born in the Tatashta. That's all right. Let them go. I can tolerate. I can tolerate, just sit down. So there's people who have this philosophy, that we weren't originally with Krishna. And the problem with that philosophy is then one would think that we were sent here in the material world and immediately without any choice. In other words, we weren't, if the people say we weren't with Krishna, that indicates that we just came here. We were born in the Brahmajyoti, or born in the material world, or born in the Tatashta Shakti. Actually, there's no such thing as the Tatashta Shakti. Tatashta Shakti is just the technical name of what the Jiva soul is, the category. Tatashta Shakti is the category. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes it like Tatashta. The word Tatashta means like the line between the shore and the ocean. It's like an imaginary line, because you can't be on that line, because the line, if anyone studied mathematics, a line has actually no dimensions. It's just like a point in space has no dimension. Well, a line has like length, but no breadth. So you really can't exist on the line. You're either on one side or the other, or you can have 1 foot in the water and 1 foot in land. That's true too. But you're never on the line of demarcation between the shore and the ocean, because it's just, you're either wet or dry. So we didn't appear from the Tatashta Shakti. We are Tatashta Shakti. That's our category. Just like Krishna is Vishnu Tattva, right? Krishna and all of his various incarnations are the category of Vishnu Tattva. That's the Tattva, that's the category, that's the ontology. So everybody understands that. So it's not that Krishna came from the Vishnu Tattva. The same way the Jiva soul didn't come, because Krishna, many places indicates that we're eternal. Isn't it? He says, Joditcha Shashvatam Yam Purana, Hanyate Hanyumane Shurire. The soul is never born, nor it dies, is not slain when the body is slain. And we're also part and parcel of Krishna. And we're also imbued with the Chit Shakti, with the internal potency, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about. So we don't just come into existence at one particular time. We are Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. We're not the supreme Brahman, but we're tiny Brahman. And Brahman, interestingly enough, never gets transformed. If you think that Brahman gets transformed, then you're guilty of Mayavad philosophy. Does everybody understand that? So the supreme Brahman never gets transformed. That's called, technical word in Sanskrit for transformation is parinama. And so even Shankaracharya did not accept Brahman parinama. He accepted what's called Brahman vivarta, which means Brahman gets an illusion, but not Brahman parinama. So the Brahman, we are Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. That's from the Vedic literatures. I mean, actually, the Vedas say that we're Brahman, and also say about it. Yeah, that word Brahman, that's one of the Mahavakyas, even of the Mayavadis. Aham Brahmasmi, Tatvamasi, different Mahavakyas, great sayings of the Mayavadis. So anyway, so we're Brahman. Brahman doesn't get transformed, but because our Brahman, our category of Brahman is who we are, can be covered. And so we're basically covered, but we're covered due to our own choice, not just because Krishna's just looked cruel to us and wanted to send us to school. We're not like the children. The children are born in ignorance. I hate to say that in case any of you have children, but they're actually born and they don't have any knowledge. At least they have no knowledge of A, B, C, D. They have no knowledge how to walk. And actually, human children probably have a lot less faculties than animal children do. For example, if you've ever seen a cow being born, a cow or calf can walk roughly 5 minutes after it's born. Pretty amazing. Whereas a human being takes how long? A year or something to be able to walk. I remember trying to walk, falling over, standing up again. So anyway, yes, for a child, you need education. If a child doesn't have education, then a child will be ignorant, won't know how to read or write. But the soul, it's not like that. The soul's Krishna consciousness is inherent. There's that discussion, inherent or inherited, which we gave a Sunday feast class about that a little while ago. It's not inherited, it's inherent. Inherent means that the soul simply needs to be, the soul in the conditioned world simply needs to be woken up. Just like you have Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs, such as Arunodaya Kirtan, Jeev Jago, Gora Chanda, Bole. Wake up, sleeping soul. How long you've been sleeping in the lap of which called Maya. Also probably gave the example that by the chanting of Hare Krishna, or the chanting can be compared to an alarm clock sound vibration that wakes someone up in the morning. Prabhupada said, when you wake up in the morning, and we've all experienced this, when you wake up in the morning, nobody has to tell you, unless you have dementia, severe dementia, but nobody really has to tell you who you are. I mean, sometimes, no, I've experienced when I'm traveling, I always remember who I am, but sometimes I don't remember where I am. Isn't it? I travel a lot, and I just have to think for a second, where's the door? Where's the bathroom? Because if I don't remember correctly, I'll probably walk off the balcony if it's in the second story. Then we'll be in trouble. So anyway, so it's a question, you just wake up. Prabhupada said the alarm clock rings, or the alarm phone rings now, or the alarm watch rings, and wakes you up, and you just say, oh, I have this duty to perform. So that's why we have this glorification of the Maha Mantra, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahatbhavani Prapanam, that the chanting of the Lord's holy names cleanses the heart and creates all good fortune. Because simply by chanting, one comes to the point of understanding who they are. As Prabhupada would often say, it's not an artificial imposition on the mind. You just chant. And basically, I experienced that years ago. A story which I tell all the time is that I was listening to the radio years ago. It was 1968 or something like that, before even Rishikesh was born. What year were you born? 62? Oh my God, pretty old. I was listening to the radio and I heard Prabhupada chanting, and it sort of, I got some spiritual realization. Of course, I didn't realize my spiritual identity at that time. I didn't realize too much. I just realized that it was time to join the Hare Krishna movement. So it was a wake-up call, Ramanda Brahmate Konda Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Bish. The living entity is wandering, and by the mercy of Krishna, he gets Guru, and the Guru gives him the Bhakti Bish, the creeper of the seed of devotion. So anyway, so the main point is that Krishna consciousness is inherent, or like the crocodile, we have to get back in the water, the example Prabhupada gave here, to show our natural strength. Or, as Srila Prabhupada gave another example, we're like fish out of the water. That's the typical example Prabhupada gave. The fish out of the water is not only strong, it's just flopping all around, and it also dies. It can't enjoy. Prabhupada would give the example sometimes that you take a fish out of the water and you can give it all sorts of faculties, facilities, and it won't be happy. Even if it could breathe, which it can't breathe, but even if it could breathe, it won't be happy no matter what you give it. And so we're like fish outside of the water. That's another example Prabhupada used. So we have to get back in the water, the nectarian ocean of devotional service. And then we automatically revive our spiritual nature. It's pretty amazing. And I can say that from first-hand experience of being or practicing Krishna consciousness for 55 years, it works. You revive your spiritual nature. Of course, at the same time, we have our education, we read Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita, but without that chanting, then it's just theoretical information. There's no vijnana. Vijnana means realization. So the chanting, the deep chanting, as this morning we were hearing about the 10 offenses, and we'll speak a little bit more about them tonight during the initiation. The deep chanting, the service of the Vaishnavas, the kirtan, all these things waken one up so one can understand Shastra. So that's very important. But it's a question of waking up. Krishna consciousness is a question of waking up and realizing that we're not going to be happy outside of Krishna consciousness. So in the second point here, because we're not supposed to give a really long class this morning. So the second point here is about household life. And it's interesting that it's mentioned by Srila Prabhupada when people are young. Also, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary says the same thing. That when people are young, they look at each other and they become bewildered. There's a song, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. That's amore. Anyone's heard that song before?
That's my Mother's Day.
It's from your Mother's Day, not even your day. So you see this illusion, and basically every conditioned soul is subjected to it. Even great souls like before Lord Brahma became pure devotee. And then you have Lord Shiva, who is chasing after the Mohini Murti all over the place. So this is a very bewildering factor in this world. So basically, what do you do about that? Is that everyone should just give up their homes, give up their families, take sannyas? No. Because like anything else in this world, this impulse, desire that people have, for those who are in the conditioned consciousness or not yet pure devotees, which is just about 99.999% of everybody, the whole idea is you engage these different needs. People have needs. What the impulses we have are due to certain needs that people have. And those needs, in order to be able to progress in spiritual life, those needs have to be satisfied in such a way that they're dovetailed in Krishna's service. So therefore, it's important to have household life, but not materialistic household life. What is Prabhupada is decrying here is materialistic household life. materialistic household life is known as grihamedi life, where everything is based upon, I guess, romance and enjoyment, and which doesn't last very long. But everything's based on that. And then that's called griha andakupam in the Bhagavatam. Andakupam means like a blind well. Well, the reason blind well is used is sometimes when you have these wells that no longer have any water in them, or they have water in them, and they're covered up and someone's walking along and they fall into a well. And they're yelling for help. Please help me, please help me. Or another example Prabhupada gives, it's like an elephant. When the people who from the zoo want to capture elephants, you know how they capture elephants? They make a big, big hole in the ground, and they put like a lady elephant on one side of the hole. And then the lady elephant does whatever she does that attracts male elephants. I don't know what she does. She waves her trunk around. I don't know what, I mean, I really don't have any experience being an elephant. And the male elephant says, wow, look at that. Look at the trunk on that. What is the song? Oh, what beautiful trunks. What great big beautiful trunks. Anyway, the male elephant runs for the lady elephant and he falls into the well, and the next thing he knows is he's at the Orlando Zoo. So that's why the blind well is used. But if one engages, I mean, not only in the household life, the attraction between men and women, just even the tongue, you know. The tongue is actually the most voracious and uncontrollable of all the senses, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Dharmade jivayati labramoyat sudurmati. So the point is that we have this desire to eat nice food. We have desire to see beautiful things. We have this desire to, you know, all the senses, to smell nice things. So the whole idea is to dovetail these different desires we have in Krishna consciousness. And then what happens at that particular point, the desires become purified and we're able to engage even what was previously the object of the senses. We're able to engage that particular person, thing, whatever it is, in Krishna's service, and becomes a source of purification. So Krishna conscious household life is a source of spiritual purification, because the husband and the wife, instead of just being a romantic fantasy for 50 years, I don't think it lasts for 50 years, does it?
Like two.
What?
Like 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Not really.
2 years, 2 years, 3 minutes, and 20 seconds. So instead of being this romantic fantasy, they're thinking, using their partnership as a means to please Krishna. You know, they're serving the deities. You know, it's perfect partnership. They're preaching, especially in the Western world. Grahastas can preach very, very nicely. You know, better than sannyasis. You know, sannyasis sort of frighten people in the Western world. I mean, for Indians, it's good because the Indians, they naturally pay respect. But in the Western world, you can walk out to see someone and say, I'm a sannyasi, so what? Would you like to come to my kutir, you know, some grass hut, and eat some dried bread balls? It's like people come to my house and I show them what I cook and what I eat, and they say, oh my God, how can you live like that? No fried food, no sweets, no pakoras, no, what else? Nothing. No rice, yeah, no chawal, no rice. Oh my God. Just like when I was a young devotee, here's an interesting story. I saw a sannyasi And he was eating very little, no sweets or anything like that. I thought, and people said, oh, he's so advanced. And I was thinking, I never want to be advanced if that's what it means. Because I was attached, globulin, sweet rice, everything. Breakfast would be sweet rice and then the globulin juice from the Sunday feast on top of the sweet rice. And then mixed with halva, all this like wonderful preparation. Oh, it's time for an offering. So, but anyway, so the Grahastha life is an ideal situation in which one can spread Krishna consciousness. Just like you see, we have a nice Grahastha couple in charge of the temple here. And that's as good as a sannyasi. And in one sense, it may even be better than a sannyasi as far as preaching Krishna consciousness. Like Prabhupada said, utility is the principle, isn't it? So like Srila Prabhupada, when he wanted to spread Krishna consciousness in the UK, he sent grahasthas there. Prabhupada's godbrothers, sannyasis, went to the UK, and also they went to Germany to preach. And, one or two people joined the movement. There in the UK, there was one lady, what was her name? Vinod Vani. And then one of Prabhupada's godbrothers joined from Germany too. But nothing really big, nothing substantial. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur called them back and wasn't even pleased with them. There's a description, he didn't even talk to them again after they came back. But Prabhupada sent some grahasthas there to London, and all of a sudden, of course, meeting George Harrison and all that other nice stuff. And all of a sudden there was a giant movement there with a Rath Yatra cart that was taller than the Nelson column. Isn't it? I mean, it just like shocked the Britishers. They were having Rath Yatra within 2 or 3 years. Rath Yatra in London, it was just like overwhelming. It's crowds of people. So the point is, utility is the principle, as Prabhupada said. Whatever works as far as bringing people to Krishna consciousness. And as far as renouncing the material world, like is indicated here, that's for materialistic people. Even it's mentioned by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the preferable stage of renunciation for grahasthas is called kshetra sannyas, in which the grahasthas serve the mission or serve the deities together as a partnership. So the grahastha life should be seen as a partnership for serving Krishna. That's all. Instead of this romantic conception, but that goes away anyway, naturally. And then one stays with their wife, basically for their whole life. There's no need to leave and take sannyas or leave and get divorced. Because then, if someone, first of all, if someone has these desires still, then, they'll become something like Prabhupada said, a bachelor daddy. Prabhupada used that expression. And you see in the Western world, I actually was looking at the statistics recently of divorce rate, because people are just like attached to this romantic conception that goes away. And in one country, in Luxembourg, it's 86% divorce rate. America is like 46, 47%. Not too bad. It's like heads I win, tails you lose, type of thing. So Krishna conscious grahastha life, if it is taken as a service of Krishna, and when it is dharmic, then one stays together and it becomes a source of ecstasy, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur talked how its home becomes Vrindavan. One's home can become Vrindavan. And one can make one's home a holy place and serve the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So please don't take these statements by Prabhupada out of context, thinking that one has to run away from his home to be Krishna conscious. There's some impediment. No, you can engage your home. And Prabhupada tried his best to engage his home. His home was not engageable, because when Prabhupada tried to preach Krishna consciousness, his wife interfered with his preaching. He would be giving class, and his wife would come around with a feather duster and blow dust in the face of Prabhupada's guests. You know, so she sold his Bhagavatam for tea biscuits. So if your wife does that, then we'll talk about it. Anyway, come to travel with me then. If that's the case. Otherwise, you should both serve Krishna. Again, invite people to your home. Prabhupada said when people get married, Prabhupada was asked, what is the duty of a grahasta? And Prabhupada said, before they eat, they call out 3 times, if anyone's hungry, let them come and eat. I mean, nowadays you can't do it, but the whole idea is to invite people to your house. Prabhupada gave the example of his own father. Every day, he said they had 3 or 4 sadhus coming to the house to take prasadam, and guests coming to the house to take prasadam. So in this way, grahastha life can actually be just as good or better than sannyas life. There's no impediments in Krishna consciousness. Ahaitukiya pratyata yatma suprasidati. Isn't it? Savayapum samparadama eto bhakti ahotsaje. Ahaitukiya pratyata yatma suprasidati. That there's no cause, material cause to pure devotional service, and there's no impediment. If one is strictly following the sadhana process and strictly trying to please His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada in this movement by spreading Krishna consciousness. I mean, some of our most successful devotees of Grahastas, the biggest book distributor, well, the one who's inspiring more devotees in the world to distribute books is Vaisheshekha Prabhu, and he's a Grahasta. I mean, he's much more inspirational than me or practically any other sannyasi, of course. So, you see, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, whatever ashram one is in, one realizes one's needs, engages one's needs, in the fulfillment of one's needs in Krishna consciousness, like offering food to Krishna and eating nice, tasty prasadam. And then you go back to Godhead and don't worry about it. Okay, so any questions or comments? Yes.
Kurban Brahman who wanted to leave his soul life and go check on Prabhu.
Yeah.
And check on you.
He forbade him. You want to know the story? Well, Kurma Brahman in South India, Lord Chaitanya was touring South India, and he became attached to Lord Chaitanya and just like gave everything up. Lord Chaitanya said, don't ever talk like that. Stanis tata shrutikatam tan van manopir. He quoted from the Bhagavatam. He said, just remain where you are, hear and chant, and yari dekatari kar Krishna upadesh, mariyai guru hoi tori desh. You become guru. That doesn't mean you necessarily initiate people, but you give people Krishna consciousness. Like the Grahasta ashram is an ideal situation to invite people and cultivate people in Krishna consciousness. It's ideal. You know, even when I travel, I usually stay with Grahastas because it's better for me. But no, why do I do it? Because I have a certain diet and everything like that. And you know, and I appreciate it. And Prabhupada very much appreciated the Grahastas and the children. Prabhupada put a lot of emphasis on children, the education of children, like that. So anyway, so Kurma Brahman was sent back home. If that's the point you were making. Yeah.
Also in most of the life of also.
Yeah, except for the last year or two. The last year or two, he just renounced everything, and he made believe that he was sick so nobody would bother him. And he just chanted and engaged in what we call nirjana bhajan. Nirjana bhajan, nirjana means without anybody. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, yeah. I mean, look what I would say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, other than Vyasadeva, is the most prolific writer of Krishna conscious literature. I mean, you would read a list of all the books. I mean, I will never even get to an end as far as my reading of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books in this lifetime. I cannot even read that much. And how did he write that much? Well, the way he wrote that much was that he would get up at 10 o'clock every night and write all night long and take maybe a half hour rest before he went to work in the morning, eat very little, come back, do a whole day's work at the court in a half day, the equivalent of everyone else's work in a half day at the court. And then come back home again, talk, preach to guests, and spend most of the night writing Vaishnava literatures. I mean, right now we're studying the Jaiva Dharma online. We have an online Jaiva Dharma class every day. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma, just like, it deals with all the different aspects of Krishna consciousness, sambandha, videya, prayojana, basic philosophy, how to practice, and then ultimately what happens in the spiritual world, or how to perform pure devotional service. So, there's an example. Vyasadeva was also Grahasta. Actually, our most prolific writers were Grahastas. That's interesting. I mean, Prabhupada wrote quite a bit too. But I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually, I don't know, I'm not comparing Prabhupada to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but it's so many volumes. I mean, I read all of Prabhupada's books, but I don't think I hope to read all of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books in this lifetime. There's so many of them. And song books, so many song books. I mean, it's incredible what he did. And so, I mean, obviously we can't imitate Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but we can follow in his footsteps and do what we can do according to our capacity. So, yeah, good question. Anyone else have a question? Yes, Rishikesh.
I just want to understand what is wakefulness happening. It's a Jiv Jago, right?
Jiv Jago.
Jiv Jago. So, currently, these activities I'm doing is like getting Bhagavatam from you. All these activities, is it still the sleeping stage or is it the wakeful stage?
Well, you're just like rubbing your eyes right now. This is what's waking you up. It takes a while to wake up.
Right.
Just like I've seen people. I mean, I wake up right away. Prabhupada said, actually, it was Chanaka Pandit said we should sleep like a dog. You know why he said that? Because as soon as there's a sound, the dog. So, and Prabhupada was like that too. I mean, not rough. But Prabhupada, I mean, there's devotees who talk about when they were with Prabhupada in the train and they thought Prabhupada was sleeping and Prabhupada opened his eyes and was watching them. So the pure devotee doesn't sleep really. Rest the body. But I've seen some people, actually I'll give you an example. Hopefully he's not watching. Is he watching? Oh yeah, he's watching. He's watching. I got problems. Okay. Some people, oh my God. Maybe I should knock him off for a second. Anyway. He said, go ahead. So it's just send a message. Some people, anyway, some people, you just, you wake them up and you say, I need you right away. And they say, it takes me 45 minutes to be ready. And then I said, no, you got to come right away. And this just wiping the stuff out of my eyes after 15 minutes. But anyway, so some people, the point is that some people take longer to wake up. And some people wake up right away, even from a material perspective. So, but anyway, so it depends. Some of us are, I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur talked about the different grades of sleeping people. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was talking about that in regard to uncivilized life, civilized life. It's in the Shikshamrita. Yeah, it's in the Shikshamrita. So there's different levels. And it also depends on how much devotional service we did in the past life or lives. You know, I remember like when I heard Prabhupada on the radio, it's just like, oh, it's like, okay, let's go, you know, Johnny Prabhupada. But of course, it did take me 2 more years to join the Krishna conscious movement because the devotees preached so heavy that I didn't want anything to do with them. They told me I was going to hell unless I joined the Hare Krishna movement immediately. And it took Prabhupada again, meeting Prabhupada in the physical presence, to get me to actually enlist in Lord Chaitanya's army. What happened?
I said I actually ran away from the same people in Gainesville.
In Gainesville. And later on, they became my good friends. So
I feel like they changed.
they changed with time. I'm not going to mention names.
Sir, may I ask one last question?
Yeah.
How important is public harinam in awakening this dormant or stupid?
I think if we chant purely, not simply with a desire to show off, you know, our musical talents or whatever, is very important. It's right, you know, the holy name, like Prabhupada. First of all, by hearing Prabhupada on the radio was a public harinam. That is a public harinam. And you don't know who's out there, who's going to be affected like that. Now, at the same time, I do believe that the public harinams should be done rather professionally. Professionally in the sense like good singers should be there, good musicians should be there. It shouldn't be too percussive. You know, sometimes the devotees, when they do the public harinams, it's just like that, you know, they go with the you know, all sorts of different instruments, and it's so loud, it's painful. And they're not singing in tune, and it's not musical. So it should be something that's attractive. You know, people should just hear the sounds and something sweet and attractive. I mean, that's I know that even, I was in New York a little while ago, walking through the subway. This is not about devotees. And there was someone playing the guitar there. He wasn't a devotee, but he's playing really nicely. So I actually stopped and listened to him for a while. He wasn't playing Hare Krishna. He wasn't a devotee. Maybe I was at Maya. But anyway, but you know, I'm a musician. So I like someone who's playing nicely. You know, I understand musical notes and everything like that. I said, this is really nice. And I was actually thinking if we can have that Krishna consciousness, that would attract people. So the Madhura Mridanga Bhaje, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the sweet sound of the Mridanga. So the Mridanga is played very, very sweetly. And I think that attracts people. I mean, the Mridanga, I'm not saying that you have to use Western instruments. You can, I do. But it should be a sweet, something that attracts people, something that people want to join in with. And that's how we used to have the Harinam. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Vishnu Jan Maharaj. Like his Harinams, I mean, he would get like anybody would join in and hear. And devotees used to carry a little banner with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on it when they went on Harinam. And they gave out little mantra cards and everything like that. People would join and chant. And it was very beautiful. So I think in the Harinams, we should consider the people we're chanting for. We're not just chanting for ourselves, but we should consider their musical tastes. I think that's pretty important. And that way we can, they'll be more inclined to listen. All right, so yes, public chanting is wonderful if it's done in the right way. I mean, we used to be a little wild when I was a new devotee. Sometimes we would have these Harinams and there'd be someone walking down the street, you know, some old lady walking down the street. And we just like, we do Harinam in a line and just goes, make a circle around her. This poor old lady, and I was like, oh my God, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. So I mean, I think we have to consider our audience when we do the Harinams. You know, what would get them to chant? Because the whole idea is we want them to chant, we want them to be attracted, we want them to hear the holy name. So, like I said, utility is the principle. You know, you have to be practical in the application. So, yeah, another question.
I guess to the point is you're mentioning sannyasis don't really have that much power to pull Western in the Western world.
Not always. I mean, I'm trying my best.
But I'm curious, what do you see aside from you said that they're kind of they don't get that social respect in the West? What is it that makes the grihastas more effective at preaching from your view than sannyasi?
In many cases, well, the sannyasi they work in coordination with the grihastas. I think if it was just sannyasis in the Western world, it really wouldn't work too well. But the sannyasis, you know, they perform the function of being, I guess, the natural guru or the leaders or the guides. And grihastas can also be guides too. We have plenty of grihasta gurus in our movement, like my good friend Kalakanta Prabhu in Gainesville. You know, he's a wonderful devotee, great devotee. And I have many grihasta friends who are gurus too. But the sannyasis naturally get that respect, so that they use that respect, you know, something special like that. But the grihastas can give more of, let's say, a warm atmosphere. You know, the family atmosphere is a very warm atmosphere. I mean, even I visit in grihastas because it's a very warm atmosphere. I don't usually stay in sannyasa ashrams because it's not so warm. Plus, people don't respect your privacy there. You know, you stay in the temple and then any minute of the day, someone's going to come when you're trying to do some studying or something like that. So I mean, so there's, you know, so even I appreciate the grihastas. Actually, Prabhupada said, I was interested in the Bhagavatam. It says in the story of the enlightenment by the natural path. You remember that, Mother Krishna Priya?
Yeah,
That the grihastas are like the bees that collect all the honey.
right.
And the sannyasis are like the honey thieves. They go to the homes. The grihastas work hard, and the sannyasis get supported by the grihastas. So that's there in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So yes, I think both work together. I think both things are necessary. But as far as the initial cultivation of people, long term, I mean, sannyasis generally are moving. Like, you know, I'm moving, I'm going all over the place. I mean, next weekend I'm going to Sacramento. And then I go back to North Carolina. And then a week or two after that, I go to Chicago to do a series of seminars. And then after that, we have Janmashtami. And then the weekend after that, I fly to Australia. And then 2 to 3 days after that, I fly to Fiji. Jai, Fiji. So anyways, I fly to Fiji, and then 2.5 weeks after that, I fly to Hawaii. 2 days after that, I fly to New Zealand. 1 week after that, I'm just giving my schedule.
No, I'm listening.
1 week after that, I go back to Australia. 1.5 weeks after that, I fly to Mumbai, take a drive to Pune. 1 week in Pune. 1 week after that, meetings in Pune. And then 1 week after, Pune is near Bombay, India. And then 1 week after that, I fly back to North Carolina. And God knows what. And then probably like a week after that, week or two after that, I fly to Guadalajara, Mexico. So it's not too much opportunity for me to be hospitable. So anyway, this is a brief explanation. Like I said, that's not even including all the programs I do in each location. You know, in New Zealand, for example, we do like 11 to 12 visits a day per week in different devotees in their homes. So yeah, so the grahastas are much more stable. I'm unstable. So does that answer your question? It's better for cultivation. And of course, I'm able to keep in touch with people through, God bless the internet. God bless WhatsApp. God bless Zoom. What else should I bless? God bless Facebook. What else? Oh, God bless YouTube. Who else should I bless?
You can get on Telegraph next.
What?
You can get on Telegraph next.
No, not Telegram. God bless whatever internet thing there is. So, you know, so they enable us to me to have, you know, people watching me now, maybe from all over the world, I don't know. Because this is just one aspect. When I'm broadcasting on this, I'm also simultaneously broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. So, yeah, so anyway. So whatever. So I think it's time to go. What? Oh,
And
Christopher.
one thing I was really thinking about that's important that I've seen over the years, that if one tries to give up household life because they're frustrated and they want a way out, then that actually leads to a disaster in so many ways.
Mhm.
And if they take, let's say, to renounce the position, but they're leaving household life because they're frustrated, they're gonna take that same frustration and find that in sannyas life, like you're explaining, you know, the traveling and everything, they're still going to have to tolerate it. So it seems that in whatever ashram one is in, that Krishna arranges for one, that one has to actually be self-reflective and work on
Right.
developing the right consciousness.
That's true. And then also, whatever ashram you're in, you're still the same old person. The same old desires. It's not you take sannyas and you become a great devotee just by taking sannyas. Then you're just a pretender. But it's better to be honest in your particular situation. You know, so you don't change yourself by changing your ashrams. It just doesn't work like that. You know, even though you take sannyas and everyone respects you, you get all the mahaprasadam, which I can't eat anymore anyway. That's the frustrating thing. Took sannyas to get the mahaprasadam and I can't eat it. You know, the reason I took sannyas for this. So no, that's not true. Actually, I took sannyas right after Prabhupada left the planet to dedicate my life to Prabhupada's service. That's the reason I took sannyas. Mahaprasad. I was just a rather austere life even before taking sannyas. I was in New Vrindavan. This is a funny story. I was in New Vrindavan one year, not the whole year, but taking care of Prabhupada and helping Shruti go for Prabhupada. And it was so austere in New Vrindavan that the morning prasadam for the devotees was oat water from horse oats. You know, because it's cheaper to buy horse oats than people oats. So then you didn't even get a chance to eat the oats. It was the water from the oats. Oat water and no fruit, you know, and milk, you know, plenty of milk. This is the early days of New Vrindavan. And then lunch was pokeweed soup with some beans in it, you know, some beans and pokeweed soup and chapati. So that sounds pretty austere. So, but I was more intelligent. I worked in the kitchen. Just like if any of you ever have to go to prison, it's better to get kitchen duty. So it was like prison there at that time. So I was more intelligent, and I got to eat the Deity's remnants, and also in the Deity garbage there was a lot of nice stuff. So anyway, so basically, whatever situation we're in, we should be trained up in satisfaction, being happy with that situation. Because if we're not satisfied with what we have now, we won't be satisfied with anything else in the future. You know, if Krishna gives you a cold shower and you can't get a hot shower, just be satisfied. That's what you have, isn't it? If Krishna gives you more, you accept it. Accept it. You know, just like I come here and I'm being driven around in a fancy car. It's nice. It drives me to his Tesla, very nice. And then sometimes we go a place where we're driven around in a junker. We have to accept that. Okay, I think it's time because we have a program. Thank you very much. We'll see everybody this evening for the initiation. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.